We had phone records. We had security footage. We had witness statements. We had GPS data. And none of it matched. Not one piece. I've worked 150 homicides. I've never seen a timeline this broken. July 22nd, 2018, a Sunday afternoon, Tampa, Florida. A 45-year-old accountant named Susan Bennett leaves her sister's house after brunch. She tells her sister, "I'll call you when I get home." She never called. Susan's husband, Richard Bennett, reported her missing at 9 p.m. that night. He said he was at a baseball game. He said he came home, found the house empty, and called police. That should have been simple. But when investigators reconstructed Susan's final hours, they found something they couldn't explain. The timeline didn't just have gaps, it had contradictions. Contradictions that defied physics. This is the timeline that investigators couldn't explain. Susan Bennett was a numbers person, an accountant for 22 years. Precision was in her blood. Friends described her as someone who balanced her checkbook to the penny and never late for anything. Susan color-coded her calendar. She had a system for her system. If she said she'd be somewhere at 2 o'clock, you could set your watch by her. Her husband, Richard, was a sales director. Their marriage was described as stable but quiet. On July 22nd, Susan attended a family brunch at her sister's house in Clearwater. She arrived at 11 a.m. She left at 1:45 p.m. Her sister, Diane, was the last person to see Susan alive.
She seemed fine, normal. We talked about her garden, about her son starting college. She hugged me goodbye. I watched her drive away. The drive from Clearwater to the Bennett home in Tampa takes 28 minutes. Susan should have arrived at 2:13 p.m., but security cameras near the Bennett home never showed Susan's car passing. Detective Marcus Webb was assigned the case. He requested all available data. What he found made no sense. Detective Webb laid out everything on a whiteboard. 3 major contradictions. Contradiction number 1, the phone and the toll pass. Susan's phone records showed her device traveling south on I-275 at 2:08 p.m. That's the wrong direction. Her home was north. But Susan's SunPass toll transponder showed her car traveling north on I-275 at the exact same time. The same person, the same vehicle, at the same time, going in opposite directions. I stared at that for an hour. It's impossible. A phone can't be going south while the car is going north. Unless the phone wasn't with her. Unless someone else had her phone. Contradiction number 2, the gas station receipt. Susan's credit card was used at a gas station in St. Petersburg at 2:22 p.m. St. Petersburg is 25 miles from the I-275 South Ping. To be at that gas station at 2:22 p.m., she would have had to be driving 90 miles per hour through city streets. Impossible. Contradiction number 3, the witness. A neighbor named Linda Morris told police she saw Susan walking her dog at 3:30 p.m. at the Bennett home. Linda was certain, but at 3:30 p.m., Susan's phone was pinging near St. Petersburg, 30 miles away. 3 contradictions, 3 pieces of evidence that could not coexist. Detective Webb started eliminating possibilities. He checked Susan's phone against cell tower data. The southbound ping at 2:08 p.m. came from a tower near the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. The phone was definitely there.
He checked the SunPass data. The northbound toll reading came from the same bridge at the same time. The transponder was definitely there. Impossible. Unless Susan wasn't driving her car. Unless someone else was. And unless that someone else had her phone and her SunPass. Webb pulled security footage from the gas station. The person buying gas was not Susan Bennett. A man, baseball cap, sunglasses, face obscured. He paid with Susan's credit card. He got back into a dark sedan. Webb ran the license plate. The car was registered to Kevin Drake, convicted felon, fraud, identity theft, and a connection to Richard Bennett. Kevin Drake was Richard Bennett's cousin. Detective Webb brought Richard Bennett in for questioning. Richard was calm, cooperative. He said he was at the baseball game. He had tickets, he had photos, he had witnesses. But Webb noticed something. Richard's phone showed him at the stadium from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. But Richard's car had a GPS tracker. The tracker showed the car leaving the stadium parking lot at 2:30 p.m., returning at 4:15 p.m. Richard said, "I must have left my phone in the car. I went to get food." Webb asked, "Then why does your phone's step counter show 4,000 steps during that time? You were walking, with your phone, away from the stadium." Richard had no answer.
Webb obtained a warrant for Kevin Drake's apartment. Inside, he found Susan Bennett's purse, her wallet, her phone, and a notebook. In the notebook, a handwritten plan. The plan detailed how to create a false timeline, how to use Susan's phone and SunPass to make it look like she was in two places at once. Richard Bennett had paid his cousin $10,000 to help him murder his wife and hide the evidence. Susan Bennett's body was found on July 28, 2018, 6 days after she disappeared, buried in a shallow grave near the Sunshine Skyway Bridge, the same bridge where her phone and her car were recorded going opposite directions. Richard Bennett and Kevin Drake were arrested and charged with first-degree murder. In March 2019, Richard pleaded guilty, life sentence. Kevin Drake pleaded guilty to accessory, 18 years. The timeline that investigators couldn't explain was eventually explained, but it took a whiteboard, 3 contradictions, and a detective who refused to accept impossible as an answer. Richard thought if he made the timeline confusing enough, we'd walk away. He was wrong. Contradictions don't mean the case is unsolvable. Contradictions means someone is lying. You just have to figure out who. The timeline that investigators couldn't explain became the timeline that convicted a killer. If you have information about a missing person, no matter how small, contact your local police department. Sometimes the smallest contradiction breaks the biggest case. I'm your host. Thank you for watching. And remember, when the timeline doesn't make sense, someone is trying very hard to hide something.